The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to today's webinar. Sponsored by Great Garment Graphics, our topic today is, which print method shall I use? Thanks for taking time out of your day and working with us today. We have a lot of ground to cover, and there'll be ample time at the end for you to ask any of your questions. If you're coming into this knowing that you have questions asked, feel free to write them down, and we'll answer them. If we haven't answered them during the seminar, we'll answer them at the end. We'll probably have about 15 minutes at the end. Our usual format is to start out with a couple of polling questions. The advantage of a webinar is you can't see me and I can't see you, and I don't know what your level of experience is. So if Nicole, you could bring up our first polling question. We'd like to know how many years of experience do you have in our industry? Are you new to the industry? 1 to 5 years? More than 5 years, or more than 10 years? It helps me understand the audience a little bit better.
Okay, Ken, we got about 6% of the audience voting. We'll give them a few more minutes.
Okay. We actually only have 2 questions, and then we get into the meat of the presentation. And our second question will deal with what kind of equipment you have in-house, and that will help determine how much experience you have with the different printing methods that we're going to discuss today.
Okay, everyone has voted. We have 1 to 3 years, we have 45%. 4 to 9 years is 45%, and 10 plus is 9%.
Wow, okay. Very good. All right, and our second question, if you could pull up for this, Nicole, it's going to be, what kind of equipment do you have? Heat press, vinyl cutter, direct-to-garment printer, or print cut system? The last questions of the day.
Okay, Ken, over 80% has voted. We have 100%, wow, that has a heat press, because we did allow for multiple choice. We have vinyl cutter at 93%, 7% at DTG printer, and 14% at print and cut systems.
Okay, good. Very good. Thanks, Nicole. Well, good afternoon again. My name is Ken Chadwick, and I have over 25 years in the decorating garment apparel business. I originally was a business owner in the sporting goods business, so I've actually used multiple brands of heat presses, and I've used different materials from a variety of companies. And so I've been exactly the same place you've been, actually printing on names and numbers and making mistakes all by myself. And I have also sold commercial embroidery machines, automatic screen printing equipment, lasers, applique cutters, vinyl cutters, heat presses, direct-to-garment printers, and print cut systems. And I used to tell people, if I don't have it, you don't need it. As far as my current position, I'm a regional sales representative for Group Stall Sales Alliance, and I call on accounts anywhere from people's basements to boardrooms. I've been inside prisons, professionally of course, graphic art departments of high schools, colleges, e-commerce sites, major manufacturers, retail shops, and promotional products companies. So I have a pretty good understanding of the process. What we're going to cover today is the variety of heat transfer materials, screen printed transfers, print cut digital transfers, direct-to-garment process, and at the end, recipes for success, things I see out in the field. The first thing you have to do when you want to determine your printing method is you need to qualify your customer and qualify what you're going to do. If you've got a heat press and a vinyl cutter, which is most of our audience today, you can do most everything in-house. If you're going to use direct-to-garment printers or a print cut system, the vast majority of you are outsourcing it. So what we want to do is look at what is going to be effective and efficient. Do we have the right tool for the job? If we're going to build a house and I have a hammer and you have a nail gun, my arm's going to be pretty tired building that house. Conversely, if we're building a birdhouse, you having a nail gun and me having a hammer, it's kind of overkill. We want to look at our delivery time. What's our turnaround time? Today, more and more people want things at once, which is why you have a vinyl cutter and a heat press. Do you charge a rush charge? What's your profit margin? What about your labor? The most expensive thing in your room, regardless of what equipment you own, is you. What are our challenges? Do we have multiple locations? Do we have seams? Do we have zippers? Do we have pockets? Do we have the optional platens to do some of these jobs, or can we make something? Can we use a mouse pad, a print perfect pad? Do we buy a custom platen? These are all things that come into play. The big three in our industry is going to be time, temperature, and pressure. The temperature activates the adhesive, but it can also affect the fabric. So it doesn't do any good to have the material stick to the fabric if you've melted the fabric. The pressure, if you have too much pressure, the adhesive seeps out around the graphic. Think of a 200-pound guy stepping on a jelly donut. The jelly's got to go somewhere. So the more experience you have with the different fabrics that were involved, the same graphic does not go on performance apparel, but may go on cotton, but may go on nylon. So part of your job is to learn that. Technology is changing very quickly these days, and in the last probably 6 or 7 months, there's probably 10 to 12 new CAD cut materials introduced to the marketplace. Different kinds of films. Some of them have stretch, some glow in the dark, some have a puffing element to them. You have to be prepared to know that stuff. CAD cut material is also known as film or vinyl. The CAD cut, basically, it's a process started. It was invented almost 20 years ago by Stahls, and your film is typical an adhesive laminated to the polyurethane film, and then it's on a clear carrier sheet. We're cutting it. There's over 24 types of films that are available today. Each material has a specific use and a recipe. If you're cooking chocolate, if you're baking chocolate chip cookies, if the recipe calls for 325 for 12 minutes, you will not be successful putting your oven at 650 for 6 minutes. You can't use the same time, temperature, and pressure for every material that we have. Many of these materials are lab certified for safety, durability, and performance. If you don't know Corel Draw or Adobe Illustrator, there are software programs that are free that you can design things for your cutter, reflective materials, etc. A great resource for you is cadcutdirect.com. It will give you the various thicknesses of all the different materials. So if your customer is asking you for something that has a nice soft hand or performance apparel, your graphic needs to stretch, then you can go onto this website and see the different thicknesses of material, see the recommended fabrics, see the time, temperature, and pressure. Okay, kind of important to know the differences there. So as we go through here, we'll go through the heat transfer materials here. The strength, many of you already know, the variety of choices, the variety of colors. Once again, stay up with the marketplace with all the different materials that we have that are available through various vendors for things that stretch, things that go on low heat. Recently, there was a product called CAD Cut Premium Plus. It adheres at 300 degrees. It's stocked in 40 colors, and it will go on cotton, cotton poly, or most nylons. Okay, that's a big deal. Special effects, if you want something to be reflective, if you want it to be puff, gloss, glitter, multiple kinds of glitter, multiple colors. You can do a lot of different things with these specialty materials. On the mixed media, we're starting to see a tremendous influx of people using maybe an embroidery machine. They're doing applique, and they're using their vinyl cutter to put reflective material around the applique. Think of a leather motorcycle jacket with the name of a group on it, and then having the reflective material around the other side. Okay, there's a lot of different things you can do. In-house or outsource, obviously, if we had 90+% of our people in our audience, say, with a vinyl cutter, you set your materials, make sure everything's working on the pinch rollers, keep it clean. and you'll have many years of use with that particular cutter. Sorry, that's my phone ringing. What are the weaknesses of the heat transfer material? Well, you know you got to weed it, so you have to be careful with the details. You're not going to be doing 1/8 inch lettering with vowels in it because you won't be able to weed it. So if your customer comes in and wants lots of detail, then maybe the film, the CAD cut film, is not the way to go. Obviously, if you want a multiple color design and it's a 3 or 4 color design, you have to think about using the CAD cut material. You won't be using some of the thicker materials at 190 microns thick, one on top of the other for 4 layers. It'll feel like it's bulletproof. So that's not really going to work for you. The opportunities in the vinyl graphics and the CAD cut business, we're talking about you can do small orders, you can do custom clothing, and you can do fill-ins. Know the difference between the material and the technique. One material that's gotten a lot of play is a super film. We kind of discovered it by mistake that the regular film, when you cut it and weed it, it's just like regular film. But if you put it under more pressure and heat for a longer period of time on a cotton garment, it will actually burn into the fibers of the shirt, and it feels just like water-based screen printing. It has virtually no hand to it. So now you have an opportunity for a bridal party or girls' night out or whatever, that you can use this different material, this technique, and not have to stock a different item or a different material. When we switch over to the screen printed transfer, now we're talking about plastisol ink, and the plastisol ink is printed along with an adhesive onto transfer paper. Transfer paper has a limit of a size, typically usually 11 1/4 by 14, sometimes larger, and basically you're just printing on, instead of printing directly onto apparel, you're printing onto the transfer paper. The beauty of this is that much of it is stock artwork, or even if it's custom artwork, it's quick delivery, typically delivered to you and produced in 1, 2, or 3 days, and then shipped to you. When you are looking to save money and make more money, you can gang the orders, especially the smaller designs, on a sheet, and your cost is based on the price per sheet per color, not per graphic. So for instance, if you had a 3 inch by 3 inch logo, you would fit 12 of those on a sheet, and then you order your sheets, and your quantity pricing would give you an advantage potentially that would be less than screen printing because you're not paying a screen charge for it. Plus, you don't have to burn a screen, nor do you have to clean the screen. The real reason that screen printed transfers have become so popular is because of inventory control. A lot of people are setting up blank materials on one side. They do their 24 shirts for the team, and invariably next week a new player has been added. And if you're screening that particular item, no screen printer really wants to do an order that's too small because they can't make a profit. They can't charge you what they really need to charge you. So if you have a transfer sitting on the shelf, you heat apply it onto the garment, and you're a hero. That's kind of a big deal, especially in the sporting goods industry. The weakness of the screen printed transfers, similar to regular screen printing, is pricing is based on quantity and number of colors. So if you want a 7-color job and you only have 20 pieces, it gets to be expensive. So if you use the gang sheets, if you use clip art versus custom art, you have a chance to save a lot of money. And also many of the companies, excuse me, if you archive the design, the original design from your artwork, the pricing on the reorder reverts back to clip art pricing. That could offer some significant savings. So whatever transfer company you work with, you want to make sure that they offer that particular service to you. Where we're seeing a lot of opportunities with the transfer business is events. We're seeing field days. We're seeing parades. We're seeing ethnic celebrations and festivals, outings, where the vendor, meaning you, our customer, will be at the site with their heat press, And blank goods, whether they're flannel pants or flannel shorts or sweatshirts or T-shirts, they'll pre-print ahead of time with a screen-printed transfer a small amount, so they'll have some inventory so the line doesn't get backed up, and then they print in demand. Many times they'll be using a date or an event, and they'll, if next year, if they don't sell through, next year they'll just cut out the date from their transfer, and the following year they just order a new date under a name situation. It's a tremendous opportunity for fill-ins, as I discussed earlier, that if someone comes in next week and wants 2 more or 3 more, if you ordered smart to begin with, you'll have those sitting around on the shelf and you'll be able to easily fill in your order. The next process that we go into is the print cut. This is usually what's called a wide format printer. It uses solvent ink, and there's basically no restrictions for this particular process. The finished product will go onto leather, lycra, spandex, nylon, as well as cotton and polyester. It also has applications for different films, different substrates. This is how they shrink wrap the cars and the buses, the vehicle wraps. This is how they make bumper stickers, decals, banners, and wall graphics. The technology, once again, has changed. The equipment prices have come down. It doesn't matter whether it's a white shirt or a dark shirt. It is photo color reproductions. The colors are beautiful, they're vivid, and it's very durable. When you watch TV programs, you can see some of the programs today. The Biggest Loser program, when you see the people come on, originally the logo they have on the front of their T-shirts is from a print cut, is a digital transfer. Actually, one of our customers actually does that particular logo for the show. Every NBA warm-up is done for Adidas, is also what's called a CAD print. You can tell when you see the player put on their jersey, or their jacket rather, they stretch their arm out and they're 6'10" or whatever, and you see the graphic stretch on across the person's chest. Screen printing won't stretch like that. It's very durable. I believe the testing says up to somewhere around 60 washings, but we're seeing a lot of manufacturers using it on chairs, like the stadium chairs that people would bring inside either for an outdoor arena. We're seeing it on the packaging for tents, Field and Stream, places like that. You're seeing it more and more prevalent. It has been accepted as a viable method of decorating. The weakness for it, especially on the apparel end, is the feel. Remember, we're printing on thin vinyl, and if you put a 12-inch by 12-inch or 11.5 by 11.5 solid logo on a shirt, it will be shiny, and you will have the feel of thin vinyl on your shirt. So where we're seeing the activity is not a full front design. We might see a 4-inch high by 12-inch wide, and then around the graphic, if it's text, they'll cut out around the letters, so that kind of eliminates the feel. It eliminates the box. We have seen things on, I personally have done leather checkbook covers, vinyl address books, cinch bags. I've even done life jackets. There's a variety of things, neoprene. There's a variety of items that you can do. Please don't limit yourself to caps, left chests, and jacket backs or full fronts of T-shirts. Moving on. The opportunities, this part of the business is expanding dramatically. The numbers are much greater because promotional products people have embraced this portion of the industry. Now they're not looking for 24 pieces of something. They're looking for 1,000 of this or 10,000 of this. Items that are very difficult to normally decorate by traditional means are almost impossible to do by any other means other than the CAD prints or this digital transfers. The reason it's so popular, multicolors, no premium for price, sold by the square inch, and low application for temperature. Many of these materials are 300 to 305 degrees. We can even put it on a polypropylene bag. People have brought bags up to me at various shows and so forth and laugh and figure that they're going to have, I'm going to be left holding 2 handles. Well, that's not accurate. You can put a 7-color logo on the bottom right or bottom left or the center of that polypropylene bag, and due to the lower temperature, you will not melt the bag. I have even done a PVC-based poncho. Takes you a couple tries because you got to get the pressure correct, but it will work. It also works very well on baggage and luggage. So it's a tremendous opportunity. Where we see a lot of growth is also in the sportswear industry for performance apparel because it stretches. We've also seen activity in bathing suits. We've seen activity in wrestling singlets, in combination maybe for a runner shirt, a long sleeve, a wicking shirt, where you might have a reflective graphic that you've cut on your vinyl cutter down the sleeve, and then you see a CAD print, either the full chest or a left chest logo. And you can see many of the major manufacturers. If you go into a sporting goods store or retail store, you'll be able to see that's how these manufacturers are actually putting their logos onto the garments for their own advertising, is a digital transfer. So if you look at Nike, Reebok, New Balance, Under Armour, Asics Tiger, you start looking at their logos and you can see and feel and touch and see that it's a digital transfer. The last one that we're going to discuss today is going to be the direct-to-garment printing. Obviously, the strength is that you're printing directly on the shirt, the direct workflow from the artwork in the computer to the direct-to-garment printing right on the shirt, and then you heat press it to seal the ink. It's got a very soft feel. If someone came to you and wanted 24 pieces with a 7-color logo, or worse, from your viewpoint, 10 pieces with 7 colors, this would be one of your mediums that you would be exploring. It's got a nice soft hand to it. It's got high detail. Obviously, the machines are relatively expensive. The weakness is compatible fabrics. The fabrics that works best are 100% cotton. Anything that has polyester in it, the ink doesn't adhere quite as nicely. You have to pre-treat the shirts, and sometimes the software can be difficult to master, and also with the application. Sometimes you have a problem with dark shirts. There are some manufacturers that claim they can do dark shirts. There are some manufacturers that can do black shirts and dark shirts, but they typically are pretty expensive, anywhere from probably $40,000 and up for a direct-to-garment printer that consistently does dark colors. The opportunities, e-commerce, all these websites that you see, buy your own t-shirt, $25, they all have 30 or 40 of these expensive digital direct-to-garment printers, and they're printing on demand. They're getting pretty much $22 to $25 a t-shirt, and they're doing full-front graphics. If you're at some sort of event, you can do things like at Disney or NASCAR. Somebody will be there at these events and have those. Moving on. Recipes for success. These are things that we see out in the field. The first thing is organized. I can't tell you how many shops I've been in where they don't have a current catalog, a current price list. I kind of make it simple. The 6 Ps, proper prior preparation prevents poor performance. And I have one question that I ask everybody. How long will it take you to give me a price quote? If you're a screen printer and that's your normal business, my guess is you could do it in moments. If you're an embroiderer, as long as you know the size of the file and the stitch count of the design, the quantity, pretty quickly. In this end of the business, people aren't seem to be as organized. You should have color charts. You should have swatches of the different materials to show people. Have business cards at trade shows and stuff. People come up, introduce themselves. I hand them a business card, and I say, could I have your business card? And it's invariably, I just gave my last one at the last booth, or I don't have one, or I'm making mine. They're very important to have. It's a greeting. It's almost like a handshake. You need to have those. You should also have samples. You can't sell out of an empty wagon. You have to have samples. What's the difference? We see, feel, and touch. You need to have a sample that shows the difference between a plastisol ink transfer, a CAD cut material. Maybe put a name and number on a shirt 2 different ways and make it your choice on which one to purchase. Show some application that is almost impossible to do with any other application other than a transfer. Maybe there's zippers in the way that you would use a heat press for. Show something multimedia. Do something with a CAD print and press it onto an applique and then stitch it onto the shirt if you have embroidery. Do a bag that has a low melting temperature that other people have difficulty with. Do your homework, do your research, find the material that goes on at a low temperature, adhere it to the product. You can either put your name here, we personalize, no order too small, plant the seed. Maintain your equipment. Keep it clean. You shouldn't be able to write your name on the top of your heat press. On your vinyl cutter, a couple people gave some helpful hints. They cover it at night when they leave for the evening. Some people have put 1 drop of embroidery oil inside the blade holder after they've blown it out and keep all the lint out. And that keeps the blade moving smoothly. Also, on your vinyl cutter, you want to make sure that your cutting strip doesn't have grooves in it. It will affect your cutting. You may not be able to feel it with your hand, but if you took a magnifying glass, I'm positive that most people with a vinyl cutter over a year or 2 old would have gouges in that cutting strip. So those are important things to have. Help you maintain your equipment, have it be ready so you can make a profit. The next one is experiment. Don't be afraid to fail. You're going to miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Try anything. I did a leather checkbook cover at a show. It took me 7 times to make my graphic stick. I know my graphic sticks. The problem was the tanning oil in the leather was the same from a baseball glove, not the same leather that you would have on a figure skate or a jacket. So I had to neutralize the oils in the leather in the tanning process. And after I did that, no problem. That design has stuck on there for 2 or 3 years. Not a problem. But why do people who are experienced in this business know what they know? Mistakes. If you're not willing to make a mistake, you're not going to grow your business. What's your comfort zone? If you do names and numbers, try to do names and numbers in something else. Maybe use a different material. Show a different font. Just do something different to try to expand your business. Look at the fabrics. If the order comes in and someone has a particularly hard fabric to deal with, call a company, call whoever your provider is, ask them, what would you do? Ask the salesperson. We get millions of calls of this. Hey, I'm trying to do this. It's so many pieces. It's so many colors. It's so much size. Use the resources that you have. Recycle your leftover transfers. There are ways to elongate the life of your transfer. Learn them. When you're experimenting, make sure that you eliminate the heat mark. You're using either too much heat or too much pressure. You should not be having a square around your graphic when you're using your heat press. Education, take advantage of the opportunities to learn, just like you are here on the webinar. There's training on the internet. There's trade shows. You can network. If you ran out of navy blue film at 3 o'clock, you're not going to get film till tomorrow or the next day from a vendor. Have a friendly competitor. You have to learn to deal with some of these people. It's not worth losing the order potentially to a guy who can help you out. Be friendly with some of the competitors. You don't have to be friendly with all of them, but you ought to be able to talk to them and you can help each other out. You might be able to help them out at another time too. The only constant in our industry is change. The same technology that we were using 30 years ago has been passed way many times today. Don't assume. We all learn differently. Some of the manufacturers have put on hotel shows. Some of us have actually put on boot camps in an area where we'd have like a 2-hour class and people could come and go for 2 hours, 9 to 11, 12 to 2, 3 to 5 in a particular area, and you could see, feel, and touch. You could see the new stuff. You could use a press and see how to overcome some of the challenges. Some people have to see it. Some people have to do it themselves. How do you learn? And lastly, the pricing for profit. Profit is not a dirty word. We're in a very competitive environment at every step of the way, whether you're a manufacturer that's selling equipment, whether you're selling materials or producing materials, or whether you're reselling to the public. You have to make a profit, otherwise we won't be having this conversation next year. It's how we keep score. At the end of a stressful week, no one's going to ask you how many shirts you've printed. You're going to want your significant other to go out for dinner, and their question is going to be, are we going to eat at a tablecloth, or are we going to order by number? I think everybody knows which one they'd rather be. Know your costs. If you don't know your material costs, you can go online. Many of the material manufacturers have a material calculator online. You put in the material that you're going to use, you put in the size of the graphic, and in 10 seconds or less, it will spit out the cost of your material. You add your cost of the garment, you add your labor, you add your application fee, whatever your things are, and that's how you determine the cost of your product. Not that the guy next door is charging $450. You don't know what his costs are. Does he own his equipment? Does he own the building? He's self-employed, one person. You have 3 people. Your overhead is greater. Know the cost of doing business. You've been nice enough to be on the phone with us for half an hour or so. There isn't any income coming in the door to your shop for that 30 minutes. What did it cost you to be on the phone? There's a number, and you'd be surprised to know what it is. If there's a snowstorm, many people in my territory had no power for almost 2 weeks. They still had a cost of doing business, even though there was no revenue coming in. You need to know what that number and make your costs relative, your pricing rather, relative to your costs. Also, take advantage of the discounts that are available in the industry. Many companies have monthly discounts. You also have a trade discount based on volume. Once you hit certain thresholds, you might get a 3%, 4%, 5%, whatever discount. If you're at a trade show and buy something at the trade show, you might get an additional, for materials specifically, you might get a 10% discount. That 10% discount at the show added to your trade show discount of 3 or 4% adds up pretty quickly. So I'd like to thank everybody for participating. We'll open the floor up to answer questions for people. If people have questions on pricings or how to do it, I'd like to thank everybody who has joined with us here, and also the people behind the scenes to make this webinar possible, and especially you, the audience, for listening. Now we'll open it up for questions. Anybody have any questions?
Okay, Ken, doesn't look like we have any questions at this time. If anyone has any questions that they want to type into the box, feel free. We'll stay on for a couple more minutes to see if we can answer them for you.
And also at the end here, the last slide here has, there's some additional resources. Obviously, Great Garment Graphics is in the Group Stalls family. There's additional resources for the different companies that we've covered some of their products today. There's also my personal website address if somebody has any questions they feel comfortable asking me directly outside of this environment, or my phone number. Feel free to call and ask any questions. I'll give you a question that some people have asked me from the team sporting goods business. Somebody has a team name and a number, and they want to know which way to do it. You know, you have a vinyl cutter, you have access to a transfer. And the quick answer is, what does your customer want? If you ordered a 2-inch player name and an 8-inch number, and you cut it out with film, and you went from your supplier, it would cost roughly $3.45. If you did it yourself, it would probably cost half of that. But it's your time and your weeding, etc. You still have to have the cutter, and you have to buy the material. To do a screen printed transfer for that same 2-inch name and 8-inch number, you're probably talking about $2.16 or $2.17. So now think of the application. Think of the name. The name's only 2-inch with the film, but with the ink it could be 2, 2.5, or 3, still for the same cost. The application time for the film, if it's a multicolor, it's a 2-step application. If you're doing it with a screen printed transfer, regardless of how many colors it is, you're probably talking anywhere from 4 to 10 seconds application, one-time application.
Okay, thanks a lot, Ken. We do have some questions that's rolling in. The first
Great.
one, the first one is there a place where I can find an example of a good price list?
That's a great question. And the answer to that is maybe. Where a lot of people start out is with the big catalog houses. They'll go to, at Christmas time especially, you'll get price lists for either embroidery or screen printing for people that do corporations. On the local level, a lot of people are reluctant to post theirs, but my guess is, and I know some of my customers have done this, they'll print it online for screen printing. Generally speaking, people aren't going to post their prices for heat pressing, because if I had 100 customers, I could pretty much guarantee you they'd be over 50 prices. Stalls actually has a material calculator online, and you can plug in, if you email me privately, I have an Excel spreadsheet where you can put the cost of the garment, the cost of your material, yardage, if you will, the size of your graphic, and it will spit out your cost, and then you can plug in your markup that you want to get. Most people, depending upon the territory and the competition, most people charge at least double for the price of the graphic. What they do for the price of the garment, people are all over the place. There isn't a particular place, no. I would look at some of the bigger, if you go into some of the magazines, you'll have the big screen printing companies will show their pricing. Generally speaking, they're going to be for a minimum of 144 pieces. The smaller companies in your area, I would just go online to see if anybody prints them. You could probably find 10 of them within 5 minutes, but be aware geography makes a difference. Somebody that is printing in a rural area may have a different price than somebody in an urban area where you could walk to 3 of their competitors. Hopefully that answers that question.
Okay, thanks a lot. I have another question. Tim would like to know, what cutter do you recommend?
Well, I sell a particular cutter. It depends whether you're starting as a hobbyist or you're doing it for real. We try not to use the forum to recommend. Me personally, my experience is with the workhorse of the industry is the Roland GX24. It cuts a variety of different materials. It's pretty easy to use. It stood the test of time, and there are literally thousands of them in the marketplace. There are other cutters that are not as well known, and I'm sure some of them work. There's a lot of horror stories about people starting out with, imported machines on the internet, and they're $400 or $500, and then the next call is, hey, how much is yours again? So you have to be prepared. If you're going to use it for a business and you're relying on that business, on that machine to make the cuts on the material, you have to make sure it's going to work. And so I would stick with any of the brand name cutters. But my own personal experience has been with Roland. I think they're a leader in the field in both print cut as well as cut. And when I go into the big shops as well as the small shops, I see them.
Okay, thanks a lot. We have another question. How do you keep from having a square left from the heat press?
Okay. First of all, the square comes from too much heat and too much pressure. We broached on it very briefly, but what happens is some of the heat presses today have a digital readout. The way I teach it is this. I try to keep it pretty simple. If you have a digital readout on your heat press, each different material will say medium on this heat press, and what is medium, or 4 on brand X. Think of that number times 10 equaling pounds of pressure. So for instance, think of the readout says 4, so that's 40 pounds of pressure. So when you turn that dial and it's about a half a turn, you're probably talking about 10 pounds of pressure. So think of this exercise. This is how I would teach it. When you're in your car and use your foot to depress the brake, you do it every day. We do it millions of times a day. Now, the next time you get out of your car, take your hand and try to push down the brake pedal. It isn't quite as easy. So strength really matters. So when you're putting that lever down, and there's a huge difference between 40 pounds of pressure and 60 pounds of pressure. Of course, the smart aleck, the answer is 20 pounds, but 20 pounds is a lot. So my guess is most people are using too much pressure when they see that box around the shirt, or else it's too hot. Most of your materials, whether it's CAD cut material or CAD print material, has a range, wiggle room, if you will. And some of them are up to 10 degrees wiggle room either way. So it isn't so much the heat for the graphic in many cases, it's the heat that jeopardizes the garment. So especially with performance apparel, you have to be careful that you're not putting on too much pressure or you're putting on too much heat. Specifically the plastisol ink transfers, if you read the fine print in many of these companies, they'll say you can put it on for 365 for 365 for 4 seconds or 340 for 10 seconds. If you're getting the square, I suggest strongly that you lower the heat to the 340, do it for 10 seconds instead of the higher heat for 4, and also turn the dial to left and don't have so much pressure.
Thanks a lot.
Does that answer the question?
I do believe so. I have one final question. I have a gentleman who wants to know if you can give us the 6 P's again.
Well, this is a family show, so there's 6. There's really one more, but it's proper, prior, preparation, prevents, poor, performance. I can't say it fast. Proper, prior, preparation, prevents, poor, performance.
Okay, thanks a lot. Do you have time for one more question?
Sure.
Okay. How do you print a grayscale print in VersaWorks, black and white?
Beyond my grade code. I would go to myversacam.com. It's a forum of over 1,000 Versacam owners, and I would ask that question there.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay, that has to do with more software than certainly application and printing, but that's a good question, and I'm sure they'd be able to answer that for you.
Okay, Ken. Well, that looks like all of our questions.
Okay, well, thanks again for spending time with us this afternoon, and thanks to Allison for helping me out. And you can look forward to more great garment graphics in the future. We have another one coming up on marketing your business on December 1st. So if there's no more questions, thanks again for participating with us today. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact any of us at any of those numbers or websites that we offered on our webinar. Thanks, and have a great day.